Hello and welcome to today's amazing story. We are bringing to you a heartwarming story of a man who woke up one day to the sounds of birds chirping on his terrace. Little did he know, this simple act of feeding the birds would turn into a beautiful journey filled with unexpected twists and turns. Join us as we unfold the story of a man, his birds, and the impact they had on their community. A kind-hearted electrician and photography enthusiast named Joseph lived in a quiet neighborhood in Chennai, India. One day, while enjoying his morning coffee on the balcony of his apartment, he noticed 4 small and colorful birds on the railing. They were tiny, brightly colored finches, with feathers of blue, green, and yellow color. Joseph was surprised to see the birds, as he had never seen them so close before. He approached the birds cautiously, and to his surprise, they didn't fly away. Instead, they chirped and hopped closer to him, as if they wanted him to feed them. Joseph quickly realized that these birds must have been affected by a recent storm that had passed through the area, damaging their wings and leaving them unable to fly. Feeling compassion for the little creatures, Joseph went inside his apartment and gathered some seeds and water to give them. The finches were grateful and ate hungrily. Joseph continued to feed and care for the birds over the next few weeks, and watched as they gradually regained their strength and began to fly again. Every morning, he would go outside to feed the birds. The sound of their chirping was like music to his ears, a symphony of gratitude. The birds would flit around him, chirping and singing their song of appreciation. He was always amazed at how intelligent they were. They seemed to know exactly when it was time for their meal and would gather around him, waiting expectantly. As he scattered the seeds, they would chirp and sing even louder, like they were saying thank you. He never expected birds to be so smart, but they constantly proved him wrong. Their ability to communicate and show gratitude made him realize just how much he had underestimated these tiny creatures. The simple act of feeding the birds every morning had become one of his favorite rituals, and he cherished the bond he had formed with these little creatures. Soon, the finches became more confident and started to spend more time on Joseph's balcony, flitting around and playing. They also caught the attention of his neighbors, who were fascinated by the birds' close relationship with Joseph. Some even started calling him the Finch Whisperer, a nickname that he found both funny and endearing. As time went by, more and more birds joined the choir each morning. At first, it was just a few, but soon there were dozens. Eventually, the man found himself having to fill multiple bird feeders every morning to keep up with the growing demand. He was amazed by the sheer number of birds he was feeding, at least 100 of them. However, not everyone was pleased with Joseph's new feathered friends, especially now that they were growing in numbers. His landlord, who lived in the building below, became annoyed with the constant chirping and fluttering of the birds, and demanded that Joseph either get rid of them or move out. Joseph argued that the balcony was open to the elements and animals, and that he had done nothing wrong. When he thought that he had won the argument with his landlord, something shocking had happened. The man was awoken one morning by a familiar sound, but instead of the sweet melodies of the birds, he was met with the dull city noise. He was curious about what was happening, so he went to check on the birds. What he saw next led him to cry a lot. The landlord had installed anti-bird spikes on the building's ledges, causing the birds to abandon their home. He confronted the landlord, but the landlord refused to remove the spikes, saying it was for the building's aesthetic. The man was heartbroken, but he knew that there was nothing he could do, so he went to bed defeated. Couple of days passed and Joseph was readjusting to his boring city life. Sure enough, a few days later, he woke up to the beautiful sounds of birds singing once again. Stunned and half awakened as he was, he rushed on the terrace to check what was going on. What he saw left him with his jaw wide open. There he saw at least 3,000 birds, and the birds were so many that they appeared to be like a black wall. As Joseph and other few neighbors were sitting on the balcony, watching the finches play, they noticed something truly magical. The birds had formed a tight formation, and were flying in a synchronized pattern, almost as if they were putting on a show for him. It was a breathtaking sight, and Joseph couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and gratitude for the little creatures. It was true, the birds returned, finding new places to perch and sing. He realized that the birds were resilient and resourceful, adapting to their surroundings and finding new ways to thrive. They had discovered a way to navigate around the spikes and were back to their usual spot, eagerly waiting for their morning feast. The man was relieved and grateful to have them back, even though their numbers had increased to over 3,000. So, Joseph decided to make the terrace a safe haven for the birds. He started putting up birdhouses, bird baths and bird feeders, which made the terrace even more inviting. They would perch on the railing, take a dip in the bird bath, and feast on the food that Joseph had set out for them. Despite the extra work, he took solace in the fact that the birds were showing their appreciation by singing to him each day. It was as if they were saying thank you for his kindness. The man couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the intelligence of these creatures. He never would have thought that birds could be so appreciative and responsive. Joseph was elated by the sight of so many birds in his terrace. He would spend hours observing them and taking pictures. The birds, in turn, seemed to trust him and would let him get close to them without flying away. This special bond between man and nature soon became the talk of the town, and people started to flock to Joseph's terrace just to see the birds. One day, a group of ornithologists visited Joseph's terrace and were amazed by the variety of birds that he had attracted. They told Joseph that he had created a mini ecosystem on his terrace and that it was a valuable contribution to the city's biodiversity. Recognizing the significance of what Joseph had accomplished, the government declared the terrace a protected region, where the birds could live and thrive in peace and safety. This was a huge honor for Joseph, and he was proud to have played a part in preserving the bird life of Chennai. The landlord was still opposed to the presence of the birds, but now that the terrace had been declared a protected region, there was nothing that he could do. The birds were free to come and go as they pleased, and Joseph was free to continue to provide for them. The experience taught Joseph that kindness and compassion have a way of coming full circle, and that even the smallest acts of kindness can have a profound impact. He was proud of the role he had played in helping the finches and was grateful for the new friends he had made. And while he would miss their joyful chirps and playful antics, he knew that they would be happy in their new home, and that the bond they had formed would never be forgotten. And there you have it, the heartwarming story of a man and the birds he fed every day. We hope this video has inspired you to make a difference in your own community, and to appreciate the beauty of nature around us. If you did, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories just like this one. So hit the subscribe button and join the community of people who love uplifting content like this. Thank you for watching.